Do you think it's too quick to open?
No.
You're sure?
I think the community transmission rates are very low. Obviously the borders are very well sealed. People come in are quarantined, and that's controlled. So I think with the right precautions, then I think the opening up of society can move forward.
I think it's difficult for any country. They've all been put in these really unprecedented times, but I think Australia has handled it quite well. I mean, we've got the healthcare, we've got a good welfare system, so that's definitely helped. But I think everybody within the country has just, this is what we have to do, so we just do it.
I think so. Regarding COVID, I think we did good action at the right time, and now it's better. We don't have a big influx. We close the borders and it's under control, better under control than a lot of other countries. So I think we're lucky.
We did well, but it was a lot easier for us. For example, I'm from São Paulo. The population of São Paulo, one state, it's like the whole Australia, which is 27, 28 million. If we're talking about the whole country, it's much easier to be controlled. And we're talking about people who understand better, like emergency procedures and stuff. So I think it was quite easy to do the whole thing in Australia.
Australia's done well. Yeah, I think America doesn't really care, because I think it's the low-income earners that are going to be targeted, and so I don't think they have. I think they disregard the lower income earners, where I don't feel like that's the case in Australia. Everyone's being looked after.
What kind of role does American play during COVID-19, do you think?
What do they play? Not a very constructive one. I think it's just creating a lot of division and stupidity and discrimination.
How do you rating their performance so far?
I'm not going to rate it, because it's just pretty bad. I think New Zealand is to be proud of their contribution to the country, but not America.
I'm glad, look, all I can say to that, I'm glad I'm not in America. I'm glad I don't live in America. I think we're very lucky here in Australia, and I'm glad I'm living in Australia, not in America. I think the man that runs the country in America is a little bit of a cowboy. Yeah, does his own thing, not for the people so much.
I don't think anyone particularly likes Trump at the moment, so that's just my view.
They're not supposed to reopen business yet. They're not. For example, Brazil bought ventilators from China. Americans took it in the airport. Stupid, selfish. So no. Like many things.
It's a pretty messy situation for the Americans. Clearly, they haven't handled the response in a tremendous way, but and I think a lot of people in that society have been thinking about the cost to the economy versus the cost to people's lives, and that's a very, very difficult equation to make any balance on.
What do you think about China? Like, what role does China play?
Well, I guess they were the first ones to really have the virus, so the whole world was sort of looking on them as to how they dealt with it. So they definitely isolated the situation, but I don't know if we really know what happened there, just like anywhere in the world. But I think they've definitely, everybody's been keeping an eye on what happened, and then obviously it's moved around the world.
Well, I think the Chinese response has been obviously very good in terms of locking the society down, and there's probably more capability or willingness in the society to be able to do that than you would get in a Western democracy, where people are, rightly or wrongly, have more freedom to interpret the rules or maybe protest against the rules or make their own decisions. So I think the ability of the Chinese authorities to control movement or control the way people act in society day to day is obviously much stronger than it could be here.
We don't know much, but since the whole thing started in China and the wet market and all this stuff, I think they should change a lot about like their habits, eating and killing animals in a very painful way, which is unnecessary for me. But I think they did well, like spraying things on the streets and lockdowns, social distancing and stuff. but it could do better as well.
I know they say it started there. So what? It's not their fault. It's not their fault.
Do you have Chinese friends?
Yes, my colleagues from school, and a couple of friends, but not many.
Yes, absolutely. We know people, lots of Chinese living in the US, some living in the UK, and obviously people who are back at home in Beijing, Shanghai, Chengdu, Guangzhou.
I used to work in a refuge with young people, and one of the people that I was working with was Chinese and from Beijing, and she's been part of my life since probably 97, 98 or something like that.
Will the COVID-19 change your view on Chinese people living in Australia?
No.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, of course, it's crazy about the wet market, for example, being reopened, and we don't know much about what's happening in China. We don't have that much of information, but no, it's not changing my mind about Chinese people at all.
No. Okay, you understand the question. No, for me, no, it's not a problem. You say no. For me, no problem.
I love Chinese food, which is not real Chinese. The Aussie Chinese food, the Aussie Chinese restaurant. Which is not probably real Chinese food. But I know someone I've been going to since I was a kid, and they live in the area down south, and they said, "Oh, we're not going there anymore because of COVID-19." What's that got to do with COVID-19? I still go there. I still go and support them, buy the takeaway. No. So the answer to your question, no, it doesn't make a difference.
The contact, because the Chinese is rest you and the Chinese is entre eux. It's speak in the autre culture. So just my avis. Chinese just confinement, just entre eux. Chinese, do you understand me?
Yeah.
Because me, I am French. I discuss in Chinese and Arabic and Italian. The Chinese in French, just entre eux. You understand? Yeah.
Like me, moving to another country means I want to learn their culture. I want to be a little bit like them.
Yeah.
I'm not judging. Of course, I don't know all the Chinese people in Australia, in Sydney, but I think they bring too much of their culture here, and they are forcing us to live their way. For example, we walk on the left side. They don't care, and if they hit here, they won't say sorry, because that's my way. If you think different, you change. Just don't be on my way. You know what I mean? So I think they could be a bit more open to kind of mix. That's why you're in a different country, right?
I think it's just about finding out, what is important is to find, what is the cause of this, not to blame anyone.
Will this change your view on Chinese people who live in Australia?
No, not at all. On the contrary, I would give you a hug if it wasn't because of the COVID-19.